This course is a companion to the book, The Project Brain, Evolving Project Managers, available on Amazon. If you find today's session valuable, the book goes deeper on every framework you are about to learn, including the 3-tier document system, the janitor protocol, synthetic stakeholder simulations, and the full blueprint for an artificial intelligence-powered project management office you can run from your own desktop. You can find it by searching for The Project Brain by Self-Made PM on Amazon, or by visiting selfmadepm.com. Now let us begin the course. 1. Welcome to this 2-hour professional development session on writing status reports that executives actually read. Project status reports are one of the most important communication tools a project manager has, and one of the most frequently wasted. Over the next 2 hours, we will rebuild your status reporting from the ground up around what executives actually need in the format they will actually read. This course is eligible for 2 self-reported professional development units, abbreviated PDU, with the Project Management Institute, abbreviated PMI, under the online or digital media category. It maps to the power skills edge of the PMI talent triangle because status reporting is fundamentally a communication discipline. Let us begin. 2. By the end of this session, you will be able to do 3 things. First, you will be able to design a 1-page executive status report using bottom line upfront, abbreviated BLUF, structure that delivers the most important information in the first paragraph. Second, you will be able to apply red, amber, green, abbreviated RAG, status indicators with defined criteria and without inflating status to avoid difficult conversations. Third, you will be able to communicate bad news with a remediation plan attached, structure reports for multiple audiences, and choose metrics that actually drive behavior. 3. Here's how we will spend our 2 hours together. Part 1 frames why most status reports fail and what executives actually need. Part 2 covers the bottom line upfront structure, knowing your audience, and the 1-page rule. Part 3 covers RAG status done right, including the watermelon project problem. Part 4 covers communicating bad news, metrics that matter, and creating consistent input from your team. At the end, I will walk you through exactly how to claim your PDUs. Teams spend hours every week compiling detailed status reports that executives skim for 30 seconds, looking for one thing: should I be worried? When they cannot find the answer quickly, the report gets ignored. The result is a vicious cycle. Project managers spend more time writing reports that matter less, while executives lose confidence in the project's transparency. 5. Most status reports fail for the same reason. They are written from the project manager's perspective rather than the reader's. The project manager includes every task completed, every meeting held, and every decision made because that represents the work they did. The executive does not care about the work. They care about outcomes, risks, and decisions that need their attention. When weekly status reports take hours to produce, the problem is not effort, it is misaligned focus. Shifting from activity-based reporting to outcome-based reporting reduces both writing time and reading time. 6. Put yourself in the executive's chair for a moment. You have 16 projects in your portfolio, each with a weekly status report. You have maybe 30 minutes per week for all of them combined. What do you need from each report? You need to know the overall health in one glance. You need to know any risks that have materialized or grown worse since last week. You need to know any decisions that require your attention. And you need to know if the project manager has a plan for anything currently going wrong. That is essentially all. Reports that deliver those 4 things in 3 minutes of reading are the reports that get read. Reports that require 10 minutes to find those answers do not. 7. Beyond the wasted hours, poor status reporting has second-order costs. Executives who stop reading your reports start asking questions that the reports should have answered, which consumes more of your time in ad hoc conversations. Trust erodes because leadership feels they have to dig rather than simply read. And when a real problem emerges, the late communication damages your credibility because leadership reasonably asks why this was not in last week's status report. Status reporting is not paperwork. It is reputation management at scale. 8. Good status reporting starts with audience analysis and structured discipline. Everything else flows from these 2 decisions. 9. Before writing a single word, ask yourself who will read this report and what they need to decide. A steering committee needs a different report than a technical lead. Executives need the big picture. Are we on track? What risks have materialized? And do you need anything from us? Middle managers need more operational detail. Which milestones are at risk? What dependencies are blocking progress? And how is the team performing? Tailor the depth and focus to the audience. If you have multiple audiences, consider a layered report with a 1-page executive summary on top and supporting detail available for those who want to dig deeper. 10. The most important section of your status report is the first paragraph. Military communication doctrine calls this bottom line up front, abbreviated BLUF. State the overall project status in 1 sentence. Then provide the 2 or 3 most important items the reader needs to know. A strong opening looks like this. Project Alpha is amber. We are on budget but 5 days behind schedule on the integration milestone due to a vendor delay. A recovery plan is in place targeting June 15th completion. In 3 sentences, the executive knows the status, the problem, and that you have a plan. Everything else in the report supports this opening. If the reader stops after the first paragraph, they still have what they need. 11. Below the BLUF opening, a good 1-page report has 4 or 5 sections. Key accomplishments this period, kept brief. Upcoming milestones with dates. Risks and issues with current status and mitigation. Decisions needed from the reader, if any, placed prominently at the top of this section. And a short metrics row with the numbers that actually matter on this project. That is it. No page of meeting summaries. No exhaustive list of every task completed. The goal is the reader finishing the report with a clear picture of where the project is and what needs to happen next. 12. Limit your executive status report to 1 page. If you cannot tell the story in 1 page, you do not understand the story well enough. Supporting detail can live in appendices or linked documents for those who want to dig deeper. The 1-page constraint forces clarity, eliminates filler, and respects the reader's time. Resist the temptation to add content just to appear thorough. A 1-page report that gets read is worth vastly more than a 5-page report that gets ignored. 13. Executives scan, they do not read. Use headers, short lists, and tables instead of dense paragraphs. Use consistent formatting week over week so readers know exactly where to look. Include a decisions needed section at the top if anything requires executive action. Never bury decision requests in the body text. Consistency across reports is what trains your executive audience to process your report quickly, and that processing speed is what determines whether they read it or skim. 14. The red, amber, green status indicator, abbreviated RAG, gives executives an instant visual snapshot. Done well, it is the single most useful element of an executive report. Done badly, it is the single largest source of false comfort and eventual surprise. 15. RAG only works when the criteria are defined and applied consistently. A common framework is this. Green means on track with no significant risks requiring escalation. Amber means at risk with mitigation plans in progress, and leadership should be aware but not yet alarmed. Red means off track with escalation required and specific decisions needed from leadership. Define your organization's version of these criteria and apply them consistently across all projects. Inconsistent RAG definitions across a portfolio destroy the executive's ability to compare projects, which is one of the primary reasons they use the indicator at all. 16. Do not report a single overall RAG. Apply RAG at multiple dimensions. Overall project, schedule, budget, scope, key risks, vendor or dependency health. This lets the reader immediately see which dimensions need attention. A project that is green on budget but amber on schedule tells a very different story from a project that is amber on everything. The dimensional view also forces the project manager to think more carefully, because each dimension has to be justified separately. 17. The most common mistake with RAG is the watermelon project. Green on the outside, red on the inside. This happens when project managers inflate their status to avoid difficult conversations with leadership. The short-term effect is avoiding a hard week. The long-term effect is catastrophic because the eventual collapse from green straight to red destroys credibility in a way that honest amber reporting never does. An honest amber with a mitigation plan builds more trust than a dishonest green that later collapses to red. Cultivate the professional discipline to report amber early and red honestly, and train your sponsors and leadership to reward that discipline rather than punish it. 18. Counterintuitively, amber is the most valuable color in the RAG palette. It signals a problem that is visible and being managed, rather than a problem that is either ignored, false green, or catastrophic, red. Projects that cycle through amber status repeatedly, each time returning to green through successful mitigation, are actually well-managed projects. The absence of amber across a portfolio is often a sign of systematic inflation, not uniform excellence. If all projects are green all the time, either your portfolio is extraordinary or your RAG reporting is not honest, usually the latter. 19. When a project goes red, the status report is not the first place leadership should hear about it. The project manager should have had a direct conversation with the sponsor before the red report is published, so that red in the written report is a confirmation of a conversation that has already happened, not a surprise. Surprises in status reports destroy trust. Pre-communicated status, even painful status, builds it. 20. The hardest status reports are the ones that contain bad news. The discipline of delivering bad news well is what separates professional status reporting from amateur reporting. 21. Every project manager will eventually deliver a red status. The way you do it determines whether you are seen as a professional or a problem. Never deliver bad news without a plan. The formula is as follows. State the issue clearly and briefly. Explain the impact on scope, schedule, or budget in concrete terms. Describe what caused it, honestly, but without over-explaining. Present your remediation plan with specific actions, owners, and dates. Identify any decisions or support you need from leadership. Bad news delivered with clarity and a path forward is respected. Bad news delivered as a surprise with no plan destroys confidence. 22. Include 3 to 5 metrics that tell the project's story quantitatively. Good candidates are percent complete against plan, budget consumed versus earned value, number of open risks by severity, and milestone completion rate. Avoid vanity metrics that always look good but do not reflect reality, such as number of meetings held or percentage of team utilization. The best metrics are the ones that would change your behavior if they moved in the wrong direction. If a metric cannot fail, it is not worth reporting. 23. When you struggle to get consistent status updates from team members, provide them with a simple template that takes 5 minutes to complete. Ask for 3 things. What did you complete this week? What will you complete next week? Are there any blockers or risks? Consistency at the input level produces consistency at the output level, and a 5-minute template respects the team's time while producing the raw material you need for the executive report. Make the template part of your weekly cadence and enforce it gently. A team that fills in the template consistently produces status reports that nearly write themselves. 24. Sometimes a stakeholder disagrees with your RAG status. Usually they want it to look more optimistic than you have called it. Have a direct conversation to understand their perspective. If they believe the status should be more optimistic, ask them to identify which specific risks they believe have been mitigated. If you cannot agree, document your reasoning and publish the status you believe is honest. You will lose some of these conversations in the short term. You will win all of them in the long term because project managers with a reputation for honest status reporting become the ones executives actually trust. 25. Include a brief key accomplishments section to build team morale and demonstrate progress. Keep it proportional. A good ratio is 1/3 accomplishments, 1/3 current status and risks, and 1/3 forward-looking items and decisions needed. Accomplishments should never dominate the report or distract from issues that need attention. They also should never be inflated to offset a weak bottom line. If there is bad news, the bad news leads. The accomplishments support the picture. They do not rescue it. 26. Your status reports are one of the most visible artifacts of your work. Leadership above your direct chain often reads them and forms impressions of your professionalism based on what they see. Clear, honest, well-structured status reports build your reputation. Vague, inflated, or disorganized reports erode it. The hour you spend refining your weekly report is not overhead. It is the single most leveraged piece of personal brand work you do as a project manager. Treat it accordingly. 27. You now understand why most status reports fail, which is misaligned focus and writer-centered structure, and what executives actually need from your report. You can write a bottom line upfront opening that delivers overall status, key issue, and plan in 3 sentences. You can apply red, amber, green status across multiple dimensions with defined criteria, avoiding the watermelon project trap and using amber as the early signal it was designed to be. You can communicate bad news with a remediation plan attached, choose metrics that actually drive behavior, and collect consistent input from your team using a 5-minute template. and you can treat status reporting as the high-leverage career artifact it actually is. Your next step is to rewrite your next weekly report using the one-page BLUF structure and ship it this Friday. 28. To claim your 2 professional development units, log into your PMI dashboard at the Continuing Certification Requirements System, which is abbreviated CCRS. Select Report Professional Development Units. Choose the category labeled Online or Digital Media. Enter the course title exactly as shown on your certificate, which is How to Write Project Status Reports Using RAG Status. Enter the date you completed the course. Enter the provider name as Self-Made PM. Enter the Professional Development Unit value of 2, allocated to the Power Skills area of the Talent Triangle. Retain your certificate of completion in case of an audit. Self-Made PM is not a Project Management Institute authorized training partner, and professional development units on this platform are self-reported. Thank you for spending these 2 hours with me. I will see you in the next course. 29. Thank you for completing this course. If the ideas in this session spark something for you, the next step is the book. The Project Brain, Evolving Project Managers is available now on Amazon and goes far beyond what we could cover in this session. It contains the complete system for building, maintaining, and scaling an artificial intelligence-powered project management office, the full janitor protocol with templates, deeper stakeholder simulation patterns, and real-world case studies from practitioners who have saved 10 to 15 hours per week using these methods. You can find more free courses, tools, and articles at selfmadepm.com. Again, thank you for your time, and remember to log your professional development units. I will see you in the next course. 30.